So another week, another Raw. Uncle Vince shuffled the deck once again. And more power to him, because that's really all he should have done. Take a chance, try something new. No Triple H and Stephanie to start the show for a change, because that's usually his go-to. This week it started out with the newly formed League of Nations, Rusev, Sheamus, ADR, and Barrett, all standing out there proclaiming that they're the 4 toughest guys in WWE, when all of a sudden the Wyatt family shows up. I thought, thank you, Vince. That's exactly what we needed. Good job. But then he seems to muddy the waters a little bit by introducing the Dudleys, Tommy Dreamer, and the newly added Rhino to make this new ECW team. The ECW team comes down to the ring and gets in the faces of the Wyatts. If the whole point of introducing the Wyatts to this newly formed League of Nations was to generate hype, I think they should have gone straight away with that, because I was hooked. Maybe they were just testing the waters, I don't know. But right now the positioning is the Dudleys and the rest of the ECW cronies against the Wyatts at TLC this coming Sunday, in a TLC tag elimination match. Where that's going to go from here, I don't know. I hope it's going to result in the Wyatt family moving straight on into a feud against this League of Nations, because if they've been formed together for something, I think it's a high-octane feud. And right now, The Rock's cousins, they're just not cutting it. Dean obviously is doing, Dean things and getting by just fine. And we'll get to that in a moment. But the takeaway from this week's episode for me was the fact that Roman, the Usos, and Dean together, I mean, they're a good team, they're cohesive, they're good workers, but for whatever reason, it's just not compelling enough. And I think the reason is the big guy himself, Roman. I mean, his matches continue to get better, but he's not The Rock. As much as I wish he were, as much as I wish everyone wishes he were, he's not going to be The Rock. He's Roman. And I'm not so sure that Roman Reigns is necessarily that guy. That he maybe he isn't the guy that deserves this much amount push. But you know what? I don't know what Vince knows. We'll see what happens. But as it is right now, the man, Roman Reigns, is going to be facing off against Sheamus at the TLC pay-per-view in a ladder match for the world title. At the beginning of the show, like I mentioned, it was the Wyatts versus the League of Nations. Team ECW comes out, then The Rock's cousins. It doesn't really go anywhere. All we're told is that Sheamus is going to be having some words for Roman, he said Renee, at the end of the show. We'll get to that. Next on the card, we have the Intercontinental Champion Kevin Owens facing off against Dolph Ziggler in a tremendous wrestling match. Well done to both men. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The DDT spot on the outside was fantastic. Tyler Breeze is window dressing, doing what he does best, and that's, we're looking for the cameras to get on him. Keep doing what he should be doing. And that was a 2-segment match, followed by a Divas Tag Team match, which was fairly unremarkable. It was the Bellas putting over Team Bad, and then Team Bad are joined in the ring by New Day. And New Day proceed to put the horns on Team Bad, and Team Bad effectively becomes new members of New Day. And when Seth was sort of affiliated with them, it looked good. When it was Barrett and Sheamus affiliated with them, it looked good. I'm not saying it looks bad when Team Bad is affiliated with them, but Sheamus and Barrett have already well established their credibility as tough guys, so it's kind of funny and ironic. Team Bad still needs to establish more credibility as bad women. And they were doing a good job, but I don't feel like they've gone far enough in the bad direction to warrant such gyrations. Now, don't get me wrong. The gyrations weren't lost on me. I just feel like their characters could be utilized better at this point. And as far as New Day goes, yes, they were funny, but I'm getting the impression, honestly, from other people that I've talked to, that maybe New Day shouldn't try quite so hard. Maybe just pull back just a tiny bit, They're doing just fine as they are, but they definitely don't need to push any harder. Aside from that, straight away into the continued build-up for the Divas titles match, this Divas title match this Sunday at TLC. Charlotte versus Paige, and in the ring this week was the Nature Boy once again. And Rick, being usual Rick, and Charlotte now acting more like her dad than ever before. It was unprecedented. Even the inflection, her voice, when she was starting to get really animated, they were in Charlotte, the city that's her namesake. So it wasn't too surprising that she was totally getting into it. But I don't know how I feel about Charlotte totally emulating her dad right now. I honestly think that the way it was before, where she did the strut and the woo and the figure 4 into the figure 8, that was enough homage to her dad. For her to actually act exactly like her dad, maybe not in her best interest. But what do I know? Again, the takeaway from that segment was basically Paige slapping Rick across the face and Rick saying, "Get her!" to Charlotte. Charlotte, with a very brief beatdown on Paige, Paige managing to get away. I don't know how hype I am for this match. At this point, I get the impression that Charlotte is very thoroughly going over on Sunday. And I really don't know how I could possibly convince anybody that it's going to go any other way. Aside from that, anything else worth mentioning? Oh yeah, Stardust. Stardust segment, once again in the Cosmic Room, was interrupted by the big dog, Titus O'Neil. And Titus basically ripped into him. He says that you need a strong bottle of wine and a good book to read and a couple of days to sort yourself out. Because, as he was saying in commentary, Stardust is actually Cody Rhodes, the son of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and he should live up to his amazing, prestigious pedigree, rather than acting like a silly guy. My impression from that, honestly, is that maybe the Stardust character is getting phased out, and we're going to see the return of Cody Rhodes, which honestly probably wouldn't be a bad thing. All things considered, the WWE is a little bit short-handed right now. And it might be a bit of a reach, but maybe Triple H thinks, let's get the paint off of Stardust and resurrect Cody Rhodes, the good-looking, money-drawing babyface. It's not that far-fetched. I mean, the company is definitely a little bit short on babyfaces right now. I mean, look at that opening segment. I was actually thinking through what a 4-heel versus 4-heel feud would be like. I can't really name too many other examples of a top billing 4 versus 4 heel feud, really ever. Which more or less takes us to the end of the program. As I mentioned earlier, the world's champion, Sheamus, had promised that he would have some words for Roman and he would teach him whatever at the end of the program. With just over 10 minutes remaining, the big Irishman wound up basically just trading barbs with Roman. And they weren't very sharp barbs, honestly. If you followed the program at all, if you watched it or if you read about it, I'm sure you heard tater tots. More really lazy and uninspired writing from WWE's writing. I get it, it's PG, but you couldn't have thought of more inspired insult than tater tots? To think that the people in Charlotte, for whatever reason, were actually chanting Roman, 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 I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. After the tater tots comment, it was really just an uninspired brawl around the ring. Roman and Sheamus didn't really go anywhere or do anything that we haven't already seen them do before, many times over. In the end, Roman winds up spearing Sheamus through a table, stands tall, throw her the WWE logo. Thanks for watching. See you this Sunday. So what happens next? Well, we'll see after Sunday. I think it's safe to say this is going to be a fairly low attended pay-per-view. There aren't going to be too many people watching. So whatever happens, happens. The new year's right around the corner, Royal Rumble's right around the corner. Time to reset and refocus. I know it's a bit of a reach that we can see the return of Cody Rhodes, but hey, Alberto Del Rio's back and Tommy Dreamer showed up last week. Who knows what they'll try next? With the WWE this short-handed, I feel like deck shuffling is going to be a constant theme until some sort of, consistent, effective, and most importantly, entertaining tempo can be reachieved. But for now, they're week to week. The booking is not particularly exciting, but honestly, aside from the often crummy writing, WWE is doing okay. Sorry, Vince, but that's really all I can give you right now. What more can you give me? I hope you can show me next week. And I hope the rest of you can join me next week for another episode of Wrestling Ramble. Thanks for watching.